Let's look at the top 5 moments of the London Open. The first round of the tournament is always the hardest, and one player has to go out before they even get their feet under the table. In the first round, Julian Wilson from the UK played Konrad Frischl of Austria, and one of them had to go home. I've got a position set up here. Chris and Paul, can you tell me a bit about the position?
Okay, so let's look at the position. Julian is white and he has a score of 2. Konrad is black and has a score of 5. The match is to 7 points, so that if Konrad wins a gammon in this position, he will win the match and Julian will be eliminated. Konrad has just rolled double 6. He's taken one man off, but he's left a blot exposed on his 6 point. Now at this point, Julian decided to double. This is a real no-brainer for Konrad. Obviously he's going to take this. In a money game this would be an absolutely ludicrous double, but in tournament backgammon all your decisions are centred on the match score. And here Julian thought that he had nothing to lose by doubling, because if he won a double game it would go to 5-4, whereas if he only won a single game the score would be 5-3. And one of the other things you learn about tournament backgammon is that you double early and aggressively when you're behind. So the question is the double correct? And the answer is actually no, and the reason is this, that for a start, even when Julian doesn't hit, sometimes he'll save the gammon, or the backgammon, probably about 10%. Sometimes when he hits, he will still lose a gammon or a backgammon, and he has no power to end the game because he's already given away the cube. What you should be looking to do is to give a player a much more difficult decision when you're doubling, except in very last roll situations, which this is not. So let's look at just one possible sequence that would have given Konrad a much more difficult decision. So Julian hits with a 6, Konrad is on the bar. Let's assume for the sake of argument that Konrad enters with a 1-5. He can play the 1, but he cannot play the 5. Julian now rolls something like double 5 and stays on the bar. And Konrad now rolls 4-3. Now because he has entered his checker, he still has to play that 4-3, which he will play by moving his checkers, down to his lower points. Now, were Julian to double, Konrad will at least have to think about this. All right? He now only has a 4-point board. He has an exposed checker, and unless he escapes with a 6 next time, his board will continue to deteriorate, and at a certain point he will have a pass. And the trick in backgammon, be it tournament or money, is to get your opponent to think he's on the borderline of the take-pass decision. So in the original position, though Julian thought the cube was dead, actually it's got a lot of life in it, and that's why this position was not a double in the original position.
Let's find out what the players thought.
It was tough. It was really tough. It turned around all the time. I think the first one, when you had 3 in the bar, I was supposed to win in the gammon, but you managed to turn around the cube.
Yeah, this was when I gave the cube from the bar.
He's doubling me because he's losing a gammon probably anyway.
Okay, so he's got 3 checkers on. He's not going to get them off.
Yeah. I've looked on the 6.
It was an initial double to 2, because that was the justification. Now, I thought I was going to lose a double game anyway, therefore it's 7-2 and I've lost the match.
Yeah.
Do you think it was right to double you?
I would have done it, but the other Julian, he said no, he wouldn't have doubled. He's definitely taken.
Definitely taken. It's one of those, I think they call it in the books the desperation double, where I'm highly likely to lose a double anyway, therefore let's raise the stakes. But it was a long, tough match, especially for the first round. But thank you, I enjoyed it, thanks.
Well, bad luck, Konrad. You're going out in the first round. So, I'm sorry that that's what's happened, but thanks for coming and playing.
Thank you.
Backgammon is a game of luck. We've all seen our opponents roll double 6 to win the match, but it's also a game of skill. The top backgammon players know how to combine the two in order to increase their winning chances. Frédéric Andrieux from France, the World Series of Backgammon champion 2007 to 2008, had to make such a skill play. Paul and Chris, can you tell me a bit about this position?
There are many positions in backgammon that are very much dependent on the score. And in this position, black is threatening to win a backgammon. That means 6 points, and if black wins a backgammon 6 points, then he wins the match immediately. And most of the time when that's the situation, you want to do what you can to avoid it. And I'm going to confess that I would have made the wrong play over the board in this position.
Branch, do you want to explain a bit about what's interesting about this position?
It's a really interesting position because of the match score here. I'm losing 2-1. The match is to 7. That's very important because I've cubed him earlier, so I had a good position. I've won 12 checkers off, got 3 checkers left. But now we come to a really interesting position. He's got a man on the ace. He's rolled a 6-4. He's got 2 choices. He can stay here and hope I roll a 1. A 6-1, 5-1, 4-1, 3-1, 2-1 is a really sick roll
because
you can see this is the kind of thing that happens, and people can lose from it quite easily. You get one map hit here. He closes out because with his 6-4 he'd have actually closed out. In fact, how does he play it? 6-4. Here's a 6. Here's a 4. I rolled a 6. 2-1. 2-1. He hits this man or he hits this man. If he hits this man, it's better for him because he can easily pick this one up. I'm not going anywhere because I'm primed. Hits this one, it's okay because he just has to slot here any time. I come in every time I hit him. He's got a chance to pick the other one up. So this position is a famous position. It's called the coup classique. So
I think it's checkers here.
Normally you would stay here. You would always stay here in money games. You take the chance that you get backgammons.
You get the chance to hit the 2 checkers, don't you? So that's
right.
the upside.
Mathematically, it's correct to stay here in money games generally, and in match play with a lot of scores. But notice the special score here. If I triple him, if he stays, I get a double 2, double 3, double 4, double 5, double 6. I win 3 times 2, 6. Gets me to the magic number 7. Match over. So it's a very tough play here for him. He has to think about it. In the end, he decided to go, save the triple, got gammed anyway. I went up 5-2. In the end, I won that match anyway. But he saved himself. He got a few more games in, and I think this is probably the right thing to do. In fact, I'm certain this is the right thing to do. He's still in the match. It's only 5-2 down. He's still got 25%. It's fine.
All right, great. Well, thanks very much, Raj, and we'll check that out on the computer and see what is the right move.
Running is the wrong play, and that was the play that was made in the tournament, but it's right to stay, and Chris is going to tell us the reason.
Yes, okay. So let's just look at the 2 plays to start with. So if white runs with a 6-4, it doesn't matter what he does after he's played the 6, he will always lose a gammon, he will never lose a backgammon, and he will be 5-2 down in the match. If he decides to stay, the important thing is to look at what can happen, and really there are about 3 basic variations. Firstly, black can roll a double, double 2, double 3, double 4, double 5, double 6, and that's the end of the match. As Paul said, then he wins 7 points to 2 because he wins a backgammon. A lot of the time he will take off 2 checkers like this, and now white will have the chance to roll an ace and hit the shot. And if he does that, then he is approximately 8% to win the game, but he'll still lose 92% of the time. But this time he'll only lose a single game, and the score will be 3-2. The really interesting variation is when black rolls something with an ace that's not a double 1. So 6-1, for example, checker comes off, and he hits. Now, in this situation, if white rolls a 1 or a 2, and particularly if he rolls a 1, then he has a very realistic chance of actually winning the game by closing out the 2 remaining black checkers. Now the problem is, as we go back to the original position, you've got to work out exactly how often each of those variations occur and how that influence, and based on the match score, whether that's the right thing to do. Now, in the days before clocks, people would do that. The really good players all know all the match equity tables, so they'll know their winning chances at any of the possible scores that could arrive. They will break the position down into 36 rolls, break those into groups, do the analysis. Now, typically, that will take 5 to 8 minutes, all right? So I've analysed this position with pen and paper, and it took me 10 minutes. right? You cannot do that in a tournament. Everyone we spoke to ran.
You, Chris, would you have run?
I'd have run,
Yeah.
right? Because I don't want to lose the game on this next roll, right? But mathematically, it's quite a long way wrong, actually. Spoke to Frederick, and he said in a match he'd run in a chouette, he was definitely staying, right? Because he wants to hold on to either the captaincy or the box.
It was a very good game, and in the first set I didn't play good, but after I don't know. Maybe I didn't play good too, but I don't know.
Feeling good. Just won my first match. Tough play. Frederick Andrea won a lot of stuff, won a lot of big stuff, but I came through it. I think I was favourite as well. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. But overall, I'm feeling super lucky. Got to help anyone that comes up against me today and tomorrow, because I'm going to win. I'm going to win this thing. No doubt in my mind. So watch out.
So Raj thinks he can go all the way, but can he?